What's going on, everybody? Toby from Toby Wayne Studios. Today I'm going to be painting up the Cthulhu magnet. Here you see I've got a layer of primer. I start out with a black coat of Krylon primer and make sure I put 2 or 3 layers on there just to really make sure that surface is ready to receive paint. It's important to make sure that you prime any resin pieces because that paint just will not stick to that resin. So always make sure that you prime up whatever it is that you're getting ready to paint. I have my dark green base for the Cthulhu color. So I start by making sure that all the paint gets pushed into all the little cracks and crevices, similar to when you're making the mold and the silicone being brushed into all the little cracks and crevices. You're going to want to do the same thing with the paints. I like to make sure that I get 2 or 3 good coats on this to make sure that the whole piece is covered, that there's no primer showing through. And it also helps in the handling of the sculpture later on, so that if it's a real thin layer of paint, and perhaps it's not primed, the paint will want to come off. So I always make sure I give myself multiple layers of paint, and then of course a good seal job at the end too to really lock that paint in place. So there's my first coat. And I edited out the second coat just because I wanted to save time on the video. But here you see I'm getting ready to do my dry brushing, which is what's really going to make this piece pop out. And it's amazing what dry brushing will do for a sculpture. You get your secondary color and you get just enough paint on the tip of your brush, and then you dry brush it off onto a paper towel to get all the excess paint off of it. You want just the tiniest little hint of that secondary color. And here you'll see as I'm applying this that that secondary lighter color just hits all the raised areas on the sculpture and really just makes the piece pop and stand out. It's an excellent technique. I really enjoy using it, and I've been using it more on most of my newer pieces. The key is just to make sure that you have just the tiniest bit on your brush. Too much and you'll get these real heavy strokes, so you want to make sure that you just get just enough on the tip of your brush and make sure you brush it off before you start applying it. And it's always better to do it in an inconspicuous area. And I'm making sure that I go over the whole thing, making sure I hit the sides, the tops, underneath. Any little area that I want to get depth to and also get some highlights on, I make sure that I hit. And there's a close-up shot of it. Really makes the piece pop out. Easy technique, very easy. A little practice to get it to be perfected, but it's good to go. Okay, so here I'm going to be doing the yellows of the eyes for the Cthulhu. Get a little dab of yellow here, and I get a finer brush to be able to get into all the little detail there. It's much easier to just use a smaller brush. And I water it down. I thin down my paints a little bit with just a regular water. And I just kind of do some quick strokes over the eye there to make sure that I get it all covered. And sometimes you can, and I believe I did on this one too, you can go back and once it's dry, you'll notice that the color kind of diminishes once it dries. So I always go back, especially when you're watering it down, I always go back and do a second or a third wash layer to depend on what brightness of the eyes that I'm looking for. There was a close-up shot of that. Okay, so here I'm going to be using some varnish. This I do on, and I should clarify that I just had sealed this with a matte finish to lock the paints on. The varnish is the absolute last thing that you do on a paint job, or what I do anyway. The varnish really is going to make those eyes also pop out and make them look wet. It's very effective, a very effective technique to just go ahead and gloss up those eyes, and it really just makes the piece stand out and look alive, which is awesome. A lot of people comment on those, that technique of using the gloss on the eyes. So there's that. And all that's left to do now is glue the magnet onto the back. I just use simple super glue and put a little dab on the back of the magnet, not too much. You'll have glue going all over the place and sticking to your fingers and anything else that you don't want it stuck to. Make sure it takes a few minutes for it to cure and really lock in. And then all that's left is to sign this magnet, and it's on its way. So anyway, appreciate you guys stopping by. Thank you so much for the like and the subscribes. Thank you so much, and I'll be preparing more videos coming up. Drop me a line if there's a video in particular you want to see. Anyway, you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you later.